Well, good morning. We have a lot to tell you about today and to show you on Live Impact News. Thank you for watching. I'm Eugene Daniel here in Hampton Roads, Virginia, in our streaming studio at 13 News Now, joined by producer Sarah Calloway and meteorologist Craig Moeller already in the studio with us. But we're not going to start with him just yet. I know you cannot be the star of the show right now because the true stars at this point, they have four legs, cats and puppies, as we are in our annual Paws for Charity event where we are raising support and funds for animals in need in our community, working with Hope for Life Rescue. And that is where Marta Berglund is at Hope for Life there in Virginia Beach. And Marta, you've just been having a great time this morning. I mean, are you really working?
No, but also yes, because I'm chatting with you guys, but we are having so much fun out here at Hope for Life Rescue in Virginia Beach. And things are starting to pick up. You know, a lot of the animals, when we first checked in around 4:30 this morning, they were still tired. So as we've continued on through this morning, we've seen more animals show up. It's now going to start getting louder. It looks like one's about to come through the door. So I'm going to have Henry come this way, and I'll show you some of the puppies that are already in the rescue. And we've got Van. Van is a little pit bull puppy. He actually stopped by 13 News Now at noon with Ashley Smith like last week, I think. And I think his brother is about to come in the building. So I'm going to let this person in. Just keep the camera on Van, Henry, as we let this person in. I'm sorry, I'm live. Come on in. It's okay. Otherwise, we've got Magnolia in the other room. She is a mama dog, and she recently had 5 puppies. So for good reason, she's just resting. She's hanging out. Some of our other dogs that were here earlier, they've gone over to the other location that's just right next door, so they're hanging out there. And then this dog over here, I'm going to bring Henry this way, is Quinn. We're going to go hang out with Quinn for a few minutes. Quinn is my personal favorite for Eugene. I want Eugene to adopt Quinn.
She has been saying this all morning long. And I'm very shameless in saying that. And he's been napping. Quinn, wow, so this is the most calm we've seen Quinn because Quinn has a lot of energy. A lot of energy. We have not seen Quinn not jumping up and down the entire time.
Yeah, well, the good thing is, Eugene, they're puppies, so they go crazy for like 20 minutes, and then they say, all right, I need an hour nap. And that's basically the life cycle of a puppy. Just being crazy, going to sleep. Being crazy, oh, look at him. How can you refuse that little face? So these are just some of the animals that are available for adoption right now at Hope for Life Rescue. But really the point of Paws for Charity is more raising money to support these animals. So, you know, a lot of them do come in with health needs. We've seen some of the cats today that have had some, you know, vision issues that have to be treated. Mm-hmm. We've seen some animals with other health issues. So that's what some of the money goes towards. It goes towards supplies. You see all the toys, all the food that these animals go through, and then just like upkeep of the building. So all good reasons to give money today. The goal is $30,000. Eugene, I don't know if you have an updated total on how much we've raised. I know we were at like 7,500.
I'll look for it real quick.
Well
Craig wanted to say something to you real quick, but I'll look for it while he does that.
Hey, Marta, I thought you made a great point
What's up,
earlier this morning when we were talking about this. You have fostered dogs yourself, and, you know, we were giving you a hard time, like, oh, you're going to take one, you're going to keep them, you're going to keep them, you're going to keep them. But you were saying, you know, that fostering opportunity is really important because it gives you a sense of how your adoptive dog or your foster dog may interact with if you have other pets, or you may realize what the responsibility truly is. Can you speak a little bit to your experience fostering dogs and why you think it's so important if people are kind of thinking about this to really understand what they're getting into?
Sure. I mean, as cute as Quinn looks right now, I hate to break it to you, but puppies are not always sleeping. And so they're a lot of work. Like a lot of these animals are like 8 weeks old. So with that, they have to go outside to go to the bathroom like every hour. So that's a big part of it. Just, making sure they don't eat your shoes or eat your laptop chargers or your lamp cords or whatever it may be. So there's certainly work that goes into it. I think fostering, or they do the puppy sleepover program here where it's just one night. It's a great opportunity to see, can I handle this? Because it's great to come and pet a puppy at the shelter, but it is a lot of work. So I've really enjoyed, my time doing it, just because I get to hang out with the dogs. I get to see how they would mesh with my other pets. But then there's always the opportunity for other people who may have a better fit in their home to adopt. So, as angelic as this little puppy looks right now, he's going to wake up and, wreak some havoc later, I'm sure.
He's going to be a ball of fire. One other thing, Marta, while we have you here, you spoke earlier with one of the transporters, a gentleman that would go out and meet maybe a group of dogs or maybe a mom and her pups or whatever, and then bring them into the shelter. Can you speak to some of the volunteers and employees there at the jobs that they have and the passion? I mean, that guy was able to pick off picture after picture after picture on the wall and tell the backstory for each of them. So clearly they seem very invested.
Yeah, so there are so many different volunteers, and again, the goal of Paws for Charity is to raise money, but if you're not in a spot to donate money, you can always donate your time. And sometimes volunteers come in and they just play with a puppy for an hour. Sometimes they come in and do laundry. Sometimes, like Chris, who we spoke to earlier this morning, they bring animals from different shelters, wherever that may be, and they bring them to Hope for Life, who may have more resources to be able to take care of the animals. And Chris, I think, had said he has transported like 700 animals. So the people here who you see volunteering behind the scenes, they're just doing it out of the goodness of their heart. And that is, of course, a big reason that Paws for Charity is so important. It is a nonprofit, so they need all the help they can get from the community, whether that's monetary or through time. But it's really great to chat with people. They have so much passion. And Hope for Life does keep up a lot on social media. So a lot of these volunteers and people that come in know all of these animals by name and really care about them and really want to see them find their forever homes.
Yeah, to your point, Craig. Chris, right? That was the man that we heard first thing this morning. His eyes lit up the moment he started talking about the animals that were on that board. And it was so cool to see him just rattle off the stories associated with them. And I was impressed about even how far that they will drive in certain cases to go get these animals and make sure they're brought to a very safe and nurturing environment where they can get the care that they need.
Yeah, and Eugene, how about our buddy Marta out there with the golden touch, just putting little Quinn down?
Do you see that?
She had the magic, just little loving tucking in, and away he goes.
Quinn is out like a lamp.
Whenever I see a puppy, I have to put it under a blanket. It just feels wrong not to. So I tuck him in.
Well, Marta, you certainly have, as I have said repeatedly, the most exciting assignment of the day, and certainly the most calming as well when you see something like that. Calming is a good word when we watch Quinn the pup lay down like that. I mean, eyes closed, sleeping. I mean, how cute
I do
is
have to
that?
say, by the way, a little note about Quinn. He is part of a litter of, I can't remember how many puppies were initially part of the litter. They were born in January. I think he's now 4 months old. He's the last one that hasn't been adopted. So if somebody's watching Live Impact News and you're, being tempted by his sweet little face, we of course want the monetary donations. But if you're watching and are interested in maybe fostering or adopting a pet, Quinn would certainly be a great option to explore.
What a sweet, sweet, sweet
Yeah,
Quinn.
now, okay, we got to come back to reality here, Marta, because we were seeing this little angel, and he's sleeping, he's so peaceful. Earlier during a few of the cut-ins, it sounded like chaos over there with all of the dogs coming in, the cats running around. So I can imagine, as calm as it is right now, at times it's been a little more energetic over there.
Yes, yeah, and that's why I keep saying it's not always like this. There's a few adult dogs that are at the shelter that need a little bit more time to warm up. So one of them is next door. It's a Great Dane named Pearl, and then there was a few little mischievous little guys that all just went for a walk. So that's why it's nice and quiet in here right now. But again, it goes in cycles. Sometimes everybody's barking, sometimes nobody's barking, but photographer Henry and I were like, okay, we can hear ourselves think. Let's do some work while we have the chance. But yes, it's certainly going to get busier here throughout the day. We have Madison Schlegel coming a little bit later on, and then we'll have live crews throughout the afternoon and evening. And throughout the day, more and more animals come through Hope for Life's doors. So we're kind of enjoying the calm before the storm. And we just got lucky that this puppy is sleeping peacefully. He could be biting me right now, but he's decided to be a boy.
No, Quinn is a sweetheart. He doesn't bite. And, you did. You gave him that touch, Marta, that only, you can, that put Quinn straight to sleep. I do want to bring this up if we can, because Marta did ask how much money we have raised so far. And I imagine if somebody watched this, they gave something, right? If they just saw Quinn, you gave something. But we are now over $8,000 in our $30,000 goal. So that's 26% of the way already. It is 10:11 this morning. So please help us get there, right? I mean, remember, this goes a long way. We're not just talking about adopting. We're also talking about being able to give money to help a lot of these animals receive the care that they need. We were talking, and you showed us, Marta, that the cat that had the eye issue that's currently being worked through, and we talked to one of the veterinarians or people who's aspiring and working to be in that space. So this money can really go a long way to help these animals. And we have such a giving community here in Hampton Roads. Loves pets, loves animals. So we know we can do this to support Hope for Life Rescue. So, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Do you want to take a tour a little bit? We'll go visit some of the other puppies. Come on. Come on, Henry. So another thing that you'll notice while we walk around is it's not the biggest space. They definitely have room. But that's why they rely so much on the volunteers, because they have so many pets that come through these doors. But if every single pet was here at the same time, there wouldn't be room. Come on, let's visit Van. I just don't want him to escape because he's a little bit bigger. Come on, Van. Come here. So Van is a little pit bull puppy. And this, again, is the puppy that visited Ashley on the noon show. Are you so excited you can't even breathe? He's trying to eat my microphone. So yeah, this is some of the energy you will get from a puppy, and then he'll take a little nap later, I'm sure. Is it just so exciting that it's Paws for Charity? Yes. So lots of different animals to visit today. What?
Well, Marta, we certainly love that you're able to be oh my gosh. We could probably sit on this all day long. I know we're going to come back to you another hit in the next hour or so. But keep playing, keep having a great time, keep reporting, because at the end of the day, again, all of this is to support these animals that you see that are so cute, but they could really need our help in the community. So, Marta, thank you so much. Keep working hard, Marta, or hardly working, whichever one it is.
It's a tough life I live, petting puppies.
For sure. Okay, Marta, we're going to come back to you. And again, the QR code's right there on your screen. You can see it. Really easy to pull out your phone, take a picture. It'll take you straight to where you can give. And we are already, again, more than a quarter of the way through our goal. But we really need your help to get to that finish line of $30,000 today to support Hope for Life Rescue as part of our Paws for Charity event. So thank you, everyone who's given so far. Tell somebody that you know, and let's support these animals. Or if you want to adopt, the option is there. All right, phenomenal. That was great to see. Great way to kind of set the tempo up today. We do have a lot of other things to get into, but before we do those things too, Craig, I think we need to talk about this forecast. You know, this morning it was cold walking out the door. Still is waiting for that like spring type weather to come up. And you were saying spring is actually very close.
The vernal equinox. Yeah, that sounds very technical.
It does.
The spring equinox sounds a little bit more familiar. But anyway, this equinox, when the sun's direct rays cross from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere. Now, you know why the sun's rays fall in different parts of the earth. There's a simple reason.
The Earth rotates?
The earth is tilted
Okay.
on its axis. So
Close.
when the earth is on one side of the sun, the direct rays fall in the southern hemisphere. When the earth's on the other side of the sun, they fall on the northern hemisphere. So you have southern, northern hemisphere, depending on where it is, due to the earth's axis being tilted. It just so happens that we are going to have those direct rays start falling in the northern hemisphere, where North America is, the United States. They fall on our half of the globe starting Friday morning at 10:46. That's when it'll cross over, and then we get into spring and summer. And then we'll worry about the fall equinox when those rays head back south. Let's take a look at the almanac and really the month of March here. We have had, of the 17 days so far, 13 have been above average, 3 or 4 have been below average. We're going to stay below average today. Highs today only in the low to mid 40s, and we're not anticipating any measurable precipitation. And I choose that term carefully, Eugene, because I've actually seen a few flurries out around Suffolk this morning and Southampton. Very light. I doubt most of it's even making it down to the ground. But there have been at least a couple flurries falling aloft, way up high in the sky from the clouds. Again, evaporating or sublimating where they disappear before reaching the ground because the low levels of the atmosphere are so bone dry. As we go through the afternoon, we're going to see more sunshine. Temperatures just aren't warming up very much, and it's still breezy out there. I don't know if you noticed that, Sarah, out around Virginia Beach, but the winds were blowing pretty good. We had air temperatures in the low to mid-30s, so it felt like it was around 24, 25 degrees earlier in Virginia Beach. Really chilly. We've still seen gusts over 20 miles per hour along the coast. Air temperatures right now, mid to upper 30s. That's it. Factor in the wind, it still feels like 26 in Virginia Beach.
That's just
Sarah made scrunchy face with her nose. I think
I saw
is
it.
that disapproval or what?
It's definitely
disapproval.
Yesterday you said 33 and I winced, and today you're saying 26.
Well,
so
that's
not
what it
even
feels like.
Not
yes.
an improvement.
She's not happy. All right. Well, anyway, we are going to see big improvements with warmer weather building as we get into the weekend. We do have some clouds out there, but again, that is all fairly high base right now. It's not super high base, but the clouds that are out there, whatever was falling out to the west has been evaporating. So I am not worried in any way, shape, or form about any snow. But there were a couple of flurries showing up on the radar a bit earlier. We have high pressure off to the north. That's keeping the northeast flow across the area. We do have some clouds right now. Those clouds are going to thin out. You see that as we look at our futurecast. By this afternoon, mostly clear skies, sunshine, temperatures though, lower 40s, maybe mid to upper 40s down around Edenton and Ahoskie, but most of us in the metro, low to mid 40s. Overnight tonight, we're back down into the 30s. Tomorrow morning, another chilly start to the day. Some clouds down to the south. Otherwise, mainly clear. A lot of sunshine tomorrow. Temperatures low to mid 50s, and we're going to get even warmer on Friday with temperatures topping out later on Friday. We're going to see them up into the, we'll say, temperatures up into the 60s. I'm going to back it up a little bit so you can see during the afternoon there, you see the low to mid 60s, and then by late afternoon as we get a little onshore flow, temps dropping a bit. All right, as far as the forecast goes, in general, we are looking at really good conditions over the next couple of days. So what I want you to know, we'll take a look at the 7-day forecast here. Basically, temperatures today topping out low 40s. We'll call it 43 officially. And temperatures a little warmer inland. The morning clouds will give way to sunshine. Lows tonight near 35. Again, very cold, abnormally cold this time of year. We're normally in the low 40s. And our normal high is 61. So when do we get back to average? How about Friday? Again, the vernal equinox, the spring equinox occurs Friday morning. The first full day of spring should be above average, around 65. There's a 30% chance. Few stray showers. Do not change your plans. I still think much of Saturday is going to be fine. And Sunday looks beautiful. Mostly sunny, 70. 20% chance for a late shower, maybe evening or overnight into early Monday. A few more showers, isolated possible. We'll see cooler weather settling in. Tuesday and Wednesday, we should fall back into the 50s, and then it warms up again by Thursday and Friday of next week.
Okay, let's bring on Thursday, Friday. Anytime you say warm, Craig, I'm okay with those words for sure because, I knew from what you had said earlier this week, it was going to be chilly, you know, when I walked out the door. But it's still that time where I'm like, I'm tired. I woke up, I walked outside, and I was like, I'm tired of this.
No moss.
Yeah,
get us
no
out
moss
of here.
is
We're ready
perfect.
for the warm-up. Real quick, Eugene, before I hop
what's
off,
up?
and I know you guys are going to get to a commercial break. Real quick, though, who you taking to the tournament?
Ooh, I don't know. You know, it's getting harder and harder for me to do this since NIL because,
Right.
you know, you just never know who's going to be hot. Oh, man. You know what? I'm going to go with Arkansas.
Really?
I'm going to go with Arkansas.
all right.
SEC championships. I really like their point guard.
They're tough. They're tough. All right, we'll see. I got Mizzou playing. All right, they're in St. Louis. So pulling for my Tigers, but it was a rough end of the season. I'm not holding my breath. Have a good one, Eugene. I will talk to y'all later on.
All right, let's do it. Sarah, do you want to go to a break really quickly, or do we want to dip in and look at this NASA spacewalk really quickly? Let's do that. Okay, how about this, Craig? Right now, we're getting a live look at NASA astronauts Chris Williams and Jessica Meyer. They are on a spacewalk outside of the International Space Station there, doing some of their routine work at this moment, making some preps, I believe, from the reports from NASA to install some solar arrays that helps to provide like additional power for orbital labs. So some really cool stuff, science-y, but it's always so fascinating to me that we have the ability not only to be in space, but now the technology where we can get a live look at our astronauts in space sent back to us here on Earth while
It's
they're
incredible.
just floating out there.
Well,
What?
you know, it looks so peaceful and so tranquil, but space is such a hostile environment. I mean, you've got solar storms, you've got all kinds of things going on, and it's just amazing to me how brilliant the minds are at NASA and some of the other world space agencies as well, but that they've figured out how to do what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Out in this void, out in space, and that we're able to get these live pictures in, and that we're continuing to explore and expand. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah,
it really
it's
is. I love this.
so cool for me, and I would imagine it's really neat for you, Craig, because as someone who, you know, is a meteorologist, science, all of those types of things, this is just absolutely, still, I think sometimes we take it for granted, you know, especially in our age now where there's no one who has been born, you know, within the last 20 or so years plus who aren't familiar with stuff like this. It's like, no, this is special.
Really show my age here, okay? And again, you look at the things that they're working with. They have to make sure everything is tethered. You can't have stuff just floating around out there because that can lead to big problems later. You know, debris out there, little objects, you know, a centimeter or more in size can do damage to satellites and different, you know, like the International Space Station, just everything, all the communication. There's so much stuff up there that they are tracking, knowing where everything is because there's so much that has been accumulated over the decades. But as a kid, all right, and again, I'm a little older, growing up at a time, I mean, this was just mind-blowing, you know, thinking about what we might be able to do in space. And then, of course, you know, growing up with the space shuttle program in the 80s and, you know, seeing how all of that went. Now the reusable rockets with the landing and, you know, the private investment in the space exploration. It's incredible. I mean, it really is.
It really is. And you just mentioned the other thing. We are literally at a phase where we have private launches into space. Like, where are we living? It's so cool to me to see this. And I'll be honest with you, I am, you know, amazed, but also a little bit, I started to put, just for a moment there, I started to put myself in their shoes. And I'm like, I don't know. I just don't think I could do it. As peaceful and as beautiful it would be, it's just so vast space. And I would be too nervous.
I'd like to think that I could, just because I've always been fascinated with it. But just the fact that they're doing it to me is just mind-blowing. And again, that we have a space force now. This was stuff that movies were made of, you know, back when I was a kid. And now we're seeing the need when you think about strategic defense, everything else, everything going on with space exploration out and just knowing what's going on. It's unbelievable what I've seen in my lifetime.
Okay. All right. Man, fascinating. We just wanted to show that to you just real quick. Craig, thanks, man, for sticking around for not only the forecast, but to talk about that. And we hope you stick around because we do have a lot to get to on the other side of this break, including 2 very important hearings that are now underway in Washington, D.C. One, when it comes to our national security officials, including Tulsi Gabbard, on some of the threats that we're seeing across the world. And then the other, we told you that Senator Mark Wayne Mullen was the person tabbed to now replace outgoing DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. Well, he has to have his confirmation hearing, and he is doing that right now. So we're going to get back to those 2 things on the other side of this break in just a few moments. Welcome back to Live Impact News on 13 News Now Plus. I want to make sure for those who are just tuning in, you might see this QR code here across the bottom of our screen. That's because we are raising money for animals in need in our community here in Hampton Roads today. It's part of our Paws for Charity event, working with the Hope for Life Rescue in Virginia Beach. We have Marta Berglund at the top of this stream, showcasing some of the animals there within the shelter and how you can help. Simply downloading, taking your phone out, capturing this QR code, go to that site, and you can donate. We already have more than $8,000 of a $30,000 goal. So you guys are doing great so far. We really want to hit that 30,000 mark by the end of today. So please help out. Just scan the QR code, go straight to the link, and you can give. Or if you want to foster and donate, all that information is also at that link that is right there too. So I want to keep that in. We'll bring Marta back in probably around the 11 o'clock hour or so to get another check-in. But right now we need to go to some things happening in the news this morning. We told you about two separate hearings that are happening today, both of them having to deal with security in one way, form, or another. Right now we have a Senate hearing over the top intelligence officials through the Trump administration. They are being grilled by senators on any domestic and global threats. In particular, you can see there Tulsi Gabbard is there. She's being questioned right now by Senator Mark Warner here of Virginia. But we also have the confirmation hearing taking place of Senator Mark Wayne Mullen to replace outgoing DHS Secretary, Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. That is set to take place after the president announced that Mullen would be replacing Noem. Now, all of this comes as the Department of Homeland Security still at this point has not been funded because of the partial government shutdown impacting other agencies within the government at the moment. So we're going to start with the confirmation hearing with Senator Mullen. So let's start there and see what he is being asked from his colleagues.
All believe in that flag right there behind you. And what I say is, as long as you love that flag as much as I do, and you're willing to die for that flag like I am, we can work together. We can set the differences aside, and we can work together. And Josh represents that too. Just for him being here, you guys know, he's got a primary in New Jersey. He's not a senator, has 6 years. He's up every 2 years, and he's here. That's a friend that says, hey, my political differences are beside, I still like you. I cannot tell you how many members on the Democrat Party, which I love and respect, and I understand the politics, have came up to me since this nomination and say, hey, I love you, but I'm running for this office, but I'm running for this office, but I'm up for re-election. I'd be killed in my state. In most cases, I would support you, but. And it drives me crazy, but when you see a real friend like that, run through fire for the guy.
So again, this is a nomination hearing, and from my standpoint, when you're trying to select somebody to run an operation, you want somebody with integrity. Somebody with that passion toward the mission, keeping this nation safe, having this love for this country. It's also, I think, incredibly important that when you're serving the administration, you have a good relationship with the president. It doesn't work so well. I know you've got a good relationship with the president, and you told me a story, and I want you to repeat that story of your son who was grievously injured and a visit that the President of the United States made to that hospital. I want you to tell the story because I think it's important that people understand why you are loyal to President Trump. I'd like them to hear a different side of President Trump as well. Yeah. But I think also that'll serve you well as his Secretary of Homeland Security. But just tell that story.
Ron, I'm going to try getting through it without crying then. It's not about President Trump, it's about my son. So my son was a really world-class athlete, and January 17th of 2020, which mind you was an election year, he had a really serious brain injury. Woke up 26 hours later and he's a different kid. We almost lost him. For 26 hours, he had an extremely low pulse. There was a time they thought that they lost his pulse altogether. And when he woke up, he was just different. I mean, here you had a world-class athlete that wrestled all over the world since he was 12 years old, and he couldn't touch his nose. He couldn't walk without shuffling his feet. He had short-term memory loss. He couldn't control his muscles. Couldn't add 5 plus 3. He was in high school at that time. Had to learn how to read, walk, everything. And the president found out about it, and he gave me a call immediately. And one thing that the president joked about was, like, he said, let me get this straight. He doesn't know who you and Christy are, but he knew who I was, because the only question you got right is who the president was. And he said Trump with his cocky grin on his face. And but the president didn't understand the severity of it, but he heard it in my voice, and immediately he went to work. I told him we had to get to Bakersfield, California, to the Center for Neural Skills, which is one of the best neural rehabilitation places in the world. And the president offered us in his plane, his personal plane. This is the president of the United States. And I said, sir, we can't fly, we got to drive. We get there, and he called almost every day for 2 weeks checking on Jim. And then he says, I'm going to come see him. And now this is the middle of the election. This is Bakersfield, California. Really not an area he's got to go campaign. And he took the time to come up there and see Jim. And the center told us that the short-term memory loss something would trigger it. Some big event would eventually trigger where he'd start retaining stuff. Until then, he was still having issues. And the president arrived, and of course there was cameras and everybody around, and of course none of the media ever talked about it, which was funny because the president called him on stage and talked to him. And then we went to the back, and the president didn't talk to me. He didn't know I was in, I mean, he didn't care if I was in the room. Here's a guy that's been over, and his tie is about as long as my son, because my son's, it stunted his growth, and so he's 5'3" the rest of his life. And his team came to him twice and said, sir, we got to go, we got to go. On the third time they came over to him, he looked at him and he says, hey, I guarantee you that plane won't leave without me. And for the next 15 minutes, he did nothing but love on my son. That one incident jogged his memory. And from then on, he started retaining things. And Jim's attitude went from this, we're going to get through it, to this, I'm going to get through it. And every week, if not most days, the president would call and ask how he could help. Ask, how's his buddy doing? How's Jim doing? He didn't do it for publicity. He didn't do it for any show. He was running in one of the toughest elections he had been in, and the guy was still that concerned about my son. When we got released for a little bit, we had to go back. When we got released a little bit, the president said, come to Mar-a-Lago and see me. We go down there, and it's amazing. And when we're leaving, dang it, I hate getting emotional. See, if I talk about my kids, I get emotional. Other than that, you can't make me cry. But my kids do make me emotional.
That's actually a good thing.
Yeah. So anyways, he grabbed my son, and he said, do you know why I love your dad? Do you know why I love your dad? Chrissy tells the story better than I do. And he goes, no, sir. He goes, because he loves you. Because of you. Because of you. Man, he didn't do it for any other reason. I mean, here's the president of the United States, and he did it just because he cared. And so when you want to say why he's a friend, yeah, we were acquaintances before that. We've been friends ever since.
The American people need to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Blumenthal.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Senator Mullen. Thank you for being here today, and thank you to your family for your service and theirs. I hope that you will be as emotional about the children who are presently detained at Dilley and other camps in the United States of America, where they have been subjected to conditions that would outrage and have angered many Americans. We're here because of a lawless and reckless agency that has broken into homes without judicial approval, shot United States citizens, detained them without any cause, and sometimes killed them. And I am looking for real substantive reform in that agency, as you and I have discussed when you came to talk to me. A break with the past, with former Secretary Noem and with the White House, Steve Miller and others who have used Kristi Noem in effect as a puppet to implement lawless policy. I welcome that you have stated you regret your statement after the killing of Alex Preddy. You said on Fox News, quote, "Unfortunately, an individual, a deranged individual that came to cause max damage with a loaded pistol with an extra mag that was completely loaded and shot and killed." And you regret that statement, do you not?
I've already said that, sir, yes.
And what about what you said about Renee Good after she was shot and killed? You appeared on CNN and you were asked whether you believe the shooting was justified, and you replied, quote, "Absolutely." Do you regret that statement as well?
Senator, it's very clear that an officer had to make a split decision in that case as a car was running towards him and did strike him. At that point, that car becomes a lethal weapon. And an officer that there was another officer obviously giving her verbal commands.
So are you
and
saying,
stopped
and
the
I
vehicle.
apologize for interrupting you, but
Yes.
you're saying you do not regret that statement?
I'm saying that the investigation is going on, but what we've seen...
There is no
publicly-
investigation, Senator. In fact,
My
that was my
understanding-
next question to you.
Senator,
Don't you think there should be an investigation?
My understanding is that there is. I will find out if I'm able to get confirmed. But those are two different incidences.
The Department of Homeland Security and the Trump administration has blocked state and local investigation of the killing of Renee Good. And I hope that you will permit that investigation to go forward.
Senator, state and local investigation doesn't investigate federal. FBI does that through DOJ. And I believe the FBI is looking at this case. And I do want to say something to you. What you said about the terrible conditions that this administration is putting in kids. But what you left out is that they've actually recovered over 160,000 kids that were trafficked or lost during the Biden administration. What is inhumane is the 12 to 13,000 individuals coming across the border every single day, and we're not having tracked the kids. At one time, the number's up to 385,000, and that's sad.
Because you said that you were going to be, and I'm quoting you, blunt and direct and to the point. So I regret that you don't retract that statement about Renee Good. But I want to ask you about a statement that was made regarding the Preddy killing by Steve Miller in the White House. He said, quote, that Preddy was a domestic terrorist who, quote, tried to assassinate federal law enforcement. Don't you think it was irresponsible and reckless for Stephen Miller to post that claim on X without any evidence, just as you have retracted your statement?
Senator, I believe that question is better asked to Stephen Miller, not myself. I can't speak for him.
Well, Stephen Miller also said, again on Fox News, quote, under President Trump's leadership, we are looking to set a goal of a minimum of 3,000 arrests for ICE every day. If you're confirmed, are you going to be directing ICE to arrest 3,000 people a day?
Sir, once again, can't speak for for Stephen Miller, but I can say the President has tapped me to be the Secretary of Homeland, and I will lead that department, and I'll lead it.
So will you continue that arrest quota of 3,000 people a day?
No quota has been set for me, sir.
Well, in effect, it's a quota if the White House directs the DHS secretary
The
to
President of the United
3,000
States sets
people a
the
day.
policies, and I'll be working with the President. If you have a question for Stephen Miller, please
Well, I
ask
really
him.
regret that you are going to stick to those same policies and practices and condone the statements of the White House that are so demeaning to someone who was a victim of lawlessness and recklessness by an ICE officer.
Senator, I didn't say that.
Well, let me
you're
ask you
putting words in my
then
mouth.
a different question. ICE has been breaking into people's homes without any judicial warrant. The sanctity of our homes is absolutely critical. I think you'd agree with that point. And it is the law that a judicial warrant is required to forcibly enter someone's home. Kristi Noem acknowledged in her testimony in response to my questions that at least 28 break-ins have occurred. My ranking member leadership on the subcommittee for permanent investigation has produced a report that shows probably many more such break-ins have occurred. The result of a memo last May from the acting director, Todd Lyons, and it's behind me now, that instructed ICE agents to break into homes. I understand that during your staff interview last week, you said that there would be no more such break-ins to people's homes without a judicial warrant. If confirmed, will you commit to me and the chair and ranking member of this committee and the American people that ICE will no longer instruct agents to break into people's homes without a judicial warrant?
Sir, you're using the word break into people's houses very loosely. However, I have made it very clear to the staff, and I think when you and I spoke, that judicial warrants will be used to go into houses, into place of businesses, unless we're pursuing someone that enters in that place. I have not mixed words with that, and I haven't changed my opinion about that.
A whistleblower testified to our hearing that, in fact, ICE agents have been instructed as part of their training to forcibly enter. I know you don't like the word break-in, but forcibly enter is breaking into somebody's home, bashing down the door, terrorizing children, instructed them to adopt this policy. Will you commit that no longer will ICE agents or CBP agents be instructed to forcibly enter people's homes without a judicial warrant?
Sir, I've already answered this question for you. I said we will not enter a home or a place of business without a judicial warrant unless we're pursuing the individual that runs into a place of business or a resident or a house.
Senator Langford.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Wayne, right now, is FEMA currently funded?
No, sir.
Is CISA currently funded dealing with cybersecurity?
No, sir.
How about TSA?
No, sir.
Secret Service?
No, sir.
Coast Guard?
No, sir.
Customs and Border Protection?
No, sir.
The Weapons of Mass Destruction Office?
No, sir.
Customs professionals?
No, sir.
This is something we got to get resolved. We can complain all we want to about where things are, but we have an argument and a disagreement on policy areas, and 250,000 federal employees and their families are the ones that are suffering because of our argument. There's a way to solve this. We've talked about it a lot. We should just stay here until we're done. Just keep arguing it out until we've actually solved the problem. But instead, we broke last weekend. Everybody flew home right past the TSA agents that are not getting paid while we flew home. Why didn't we stay? To be able to try to get things resolved. That's my encouragement, has been my encouragement all along. We shouldn't walk away from a disagreement when there are families all over the country that are the ones suffering for it. Unfortunately, the state of Oklahoma is pretty familiar with natural disasters, as you know well. You and I have been in multiple different natural disaster scenes. There's a lot of work that's happened at the border so far. The border has moved from 12,000 people a day illegally crossing the border and being released into the country, unvetted, unchecked, to now a handful of people even attempt to cross our southern border, and those that are arrested and detained, as is the law. FEMA is still an undone project. And I'm not blaming that on Christy. There's a lot to get done on it, but you're going to walk in with a project going on with FEMA right now. Love to get your ideas and your thoughts. You're very familiar with this area and have great experience on it. What are your thoughts on how to be able to get FEMA into a better place so that people aren't waiting forever for a response?
FEMA was never designed to be the first responder. That's the states. FEMA was designed to be the assistance to the states when the disaster reaches certain levels, which we need to discuss those too, because I think some of the levels are unrealistic, especially Senator Hassan and I have talked about this, that sometimes in rural areas, they're not able to meet those thresholds. But working with the state, allowing the state to have their emergency response, FEMA simply helping write checks and assuring that they have the capability and the manpower if need be. But for the FEMA to walk in like FBI walking on a crime scene and taking over, no one's going to care more about their backyard than the people that live there in that state. And I think there's a lot of good ideas. I've heard at meeting with so many of you all, there were so many great ideas on how to make FEMA work better. It's got a great mission. And I think people at FEMA want to do their job, but we can be more effective and be more direct and speed it up. Taking years to get reimbursed is not acceptable. Taking, honestly, months to get reimbursed is not acceptable. See, small municipalities, they can't afford it. They don't have that tax base to do it. And they're already going through a struggling time, which means they're probably losing tax revenue, especially if it hits their town. So we've got a lot of work there. I do believe that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That means we're going to look at each one of the 22 agencies that fall underneath DHS and say, how can we deliver the mission better for the American people?
That's great. That'd be a huge help to everybody. Talking about the length of time it takes to get a response, you've been a part of, as I have, on the nonprofit security grants that are out there. We have some locations that are higher risk than others. Synagogues and temples have been one of those very high-risk locations that are out there. Last week in Michigan, we had another situation where a absolute terrorist drove a vehicle packed with explosives into a Jewish daycare, intending to kill as many Jewish children as he possibly could. I mean, that was his intent, was to be able to do that. That location happened to be one of the locations where there's also been this nonprofit security grant to help harden that facility. We have multiple challenges here. One of them is when the decision is made, they make a request, go through the paperwork, get approval to be one of those locations that we say, hey, we need to harden this location. Once the approval is done, it may take months to over a year just for the dollars to actually come on it because there's more bureaucratic hoops to go through. So as you're dealing with things like contracts that are out there and the way decisions are made, or FEMA, that's one of the areas I would encourage you to take a look at. I know you're very passionate about. How do you fix the issue where approval's been done and everyone's saying, great, can we get to work? And the federal government says, no, you can't actually get to work. You got to wait some more before the actual work can actually begin to do that. How does that get fixed?
We got to streamline the process and cut out the redundancies. The amount of paperwork, the senator from Michigan and I had a long conversation about this, the amount of paperwork to just, once you're approved, to get the funding flowing, and then the paperwork that's followed up on it is way too encumbersome. And there's a better way to do this. Some of these policies I have to work with you guys on. Some of these grants were written with checks and balances, which we all got to be very cautious on how we spend the taxpayer dollars. Things that I can change, things that I can cut out on the redundancy part of it, I will work with. Things that, as the senator and I talked about, things that it may take you to make changes on, we'll bring it to your attention. I will work with you. And we'll see how we can make it better.
Be great. As you know, Oklahoma's been one of the leaders in counter drone. This is a big issue for us as a country. Every high school football game, every college football game, every gathering of people for every festival and gathering across the country has now become a risk location for drones and drone mitigation. FBI can't be everywhere. We don't want them to be everywhere. We do have to figure out some process. So as you begin to think about this issue, it's a tough one to be able to deal with, but it is a basic national security issue as well. It's going to land on your desk pretty quickly, especially with the Olympics coming, with FIFA coming, all those things that are happening. We got to be able to figure out how to do counter drone and to be able to not just identify there it is, but to also mitigate the risk. What are your initial thoughts?
Well, I'd love to speak about that. With funding, talking to some of our agency heads, with a lack of funding right now, we have people quitting because they got to go to work. Meeting these demands are even going to be tougher. So we just talk about FIFA, for instance, and then you talk about 2028, which is going to be the busiest year of DHS in history because we have the Olympics and we have the presidential election going on. It'll take 4 months once funding comes in to start replacing those that we've lost for training before we can get them out in the field. We don't have 4 months with FIFA. But that's and how do we expect these people to stay on the job and work? We're losing institutional knowledge. We're losing people we've already trained, and it's going to be difficult to deliver this mission. The way that I understand is we're behind in UAS, and we're behind in FIFA right now on actually delivering the mission that we have to. We're also behind in reimbursing local communities that's also working with us. That's going to have to take a tremendous amount of focus and partnership. And like I said in my opening statement, failure is not an option, so we've got to deliver. But sometimes when you have to rush like this, especially trying to get people on the job because we just quit funding them for the third time in less than a year, and we expect these people to keep working, it puts the mission at risk, and we have a lot of work to do here.
Yeah, thanks for stepping up. Christy, thank you. This is a strain on the family and everything else right now. So thanks, y'all, for stepping into this role. Look forward to supporting your nomination.
Thank you.
Senator Kim.
Thank you, Chairman. Senator Mullen, thanks for coming out here. I wanted to just start. Secretary Noem.
Interesting line of questioning that we've received now from multiple senators for their colleague, Senator Markwayne Mullin, who has been tapped to replace outgoing Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. The president making that announcement, that move about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, saying that he wanted Mullin to go into that position. Again, all of this as DHS, as you heard there, currently not funded with the partial government shutdown. But some of the questions that we heard there kind of go to what the senators and the questions that they have, what kind of leader Markwayne Mullin will be if he is confirmed, which we expect him to be, for this particular position. What would change under his leadership for the Department of Homeland Security, which has come under fire in recent months after several situations that we saw play out, particularly in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Okay, we do need to take a quick break at this time, but on the other side of this break, we are going to have much more here for Live Impact News, including a look at a hearing taking place also in D.C. with national intelligence officials. We'll be right back. We're back here for live Impact News. We are monitoring a few live hearings taking place right now in our nation's capital, featuring some of the country's top officials when it comes to intelligence. Both the confirmation hearing that we were just showing you of Senator Mark Wayne Mullen to lead the DHS, and we are watching intelligence officials, including Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, being grilled by senators in D.C. But we do need to take another quick moment here to toss over to Marta Berglund, who is in Virginia Beach, as part of our Paws for Charity event today, raising money and awareness for animals in need in our community. She's at the Hope for Life Rescue there. And Marta, I heard you had a cat, but I don't see a kitten.
I'm surrounded by cats this morning. Eugene, good morning, everybody. Yes, we are at Hope for Life Rescue in Virginia Beach. We've been hanging out a lot with the dogs over the past few hours, so I said, let's give the cats a little bit of love. Taking a look here, we've got some friends taking their mid-morning siesta. Honestly, these cats have been napping all day, and that is the life I strive to live. But they are just so precious. And again, they also have some kittens available. So any age, if you're interested in adopting, they've got so many, different personalities, different friends that need help in Virginia Beach. And this one right here, I believe his name is Oliver. He's got some health issues with his eye. He can see, but he's got just like a little ulcer. And he's just one of the pets that receives vet care here at Hope for Life Rescue, and that's why they need our help. So our goal today is to raise $30,000. Last time I checked, I believe we were at around $8,000. So we're getting there, but we're not there yet. And of course, we appreciate your donations. With that money, they can support the vet care for these animals. They can purchase supplies, whether that be food, blankets, toys, etc. All important things when it comes to caring for these animals. So continuing our live coverage here for Paws for Charity Day, we're having lots of fun. Again, a lot more animals usually come in at around 11 o'clock, right before the shelter opens. People bring back their animals that they fostered overnight. So when we check in for 13 News Now at noon, maybe a little bit busier, but right now we're enjoying some cat naps around Hope for Life.
A good cat nap is always good for the soul. And, we did check moments ago to see where we were in terms of our donations, and we've actually increased since we've been here on the stream. What's that number, Sarah?
$8,235, so 27% of the way to the $30,000 goal.
So, Marta, we are going up. All right, we are
Yeah.
getting those donations coming in this morning. Our goal, $30,000, and people could just see it for themselves. And all you need to do is scan that QR code, use your phone right there on your screen. It'll take you directly to the link. And you can also learn more about Hope for Life Rescue. As Marta was just saying, it's not just about donations, right? We're also talking about people who want to adopt, or maybe you just want to take a test run for, take them home for a little bit. Because there are a few of the animals you were telling us with the dogs. People come and they stay at their houses, and then they bring them back to Hope for Life during the daytime, correct?
Yeah, so they have their puppy sleepover program, and they do it with puppies, but they also do it with adult dogs where, if an animal isn't adopted by the end of the day, somebody can volunteer to take it home for the night. And it helps with, getting animals out of the shelter, getting them into a more calming environment. It helps keep the shelter clean. It also is a little bit of animal therapy for people who need it, like myself. So it's kind of a win-win-win situation there. And I think a lot of times what also happens is people take an animal for a sleepover and they're like, maybe I want to adopt this puppy. So it's a great program. Again, if you can't donate money, there are certainly plenty of ways to give of your time that Hope for Life Rescue definitely appreciates.
And we love it, Marta. Thank you so much for bringing us into Hope for Life and your job that you've been doing. You've been doing a great job today. Hopefully people continue to give because those donations really can come in handy. We appreciate you, Marta. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, with that, let's go ahead and get back into some of the news that is taking place here this morning. We showed you the confirmation hearing of Senator Mark Wayne Mullen for DHS, but now we're going to go to a hearing that is taking place of our top intelligence officials, including DNI lead Tulsi Gabbard. And this hearing is actually being led by Virginia Senator Mark Warner. So we will go ahead and take you to the moments in which this had begun and listen to the Senator of Virginia, the vice chairman of this particular committee, ask questions of our nation's top intelligence officials.
Now, where is the authority for you to involve yourself in a domestic law enforcement activity?
Thank you, Vice Chairman. I appreciate the question. As you know, I've addressed every issue you've raised in detail in a letter, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to do it in this forum. As you stated, Congress provided by statute, ODNI, with the responsibility of election security and counterintelligence in 2021. As you also know, ODNI has purview and oversight.
I know the history very well, but could you just
I am addressing the question. ODNI also has purview and overview over two domestic-related agencies, the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, both of which have purview over election security responsibilities to ensure the integrity of our elections. I want to correct one of your statements that you've made multiple times, which is false. I did not participate in a law enforcement activity, nor would I, because that does not exist within my authorities.
You were present on the scene. Are the photos of you on the scene false?
I was at Fulton County, sir, at the request of the president, and to work with the FBI to observe this action that had long been awaited. I was not aware of what was in the warrant or was not in the warrant.
And what was the president's specific request for you to go to? What was the specific request that was made by the president for you to show up in Fulton County?
To go and observe the FBI's activities on this issue.
So why?
When you look at the fort, your question, sir.
Do you have the answer why the president was knowing about this affidavit before it was even served?
I'm not aware that the president knew about an affidavit before it was served.
Then why was he sending you to Fulton County?
This occurred the day that the FBI had it approved, their warrant approved by a local judge, and they began to execute this. To address your question, sir, about the foreign nexus question, in order for us to better understand the vulnerabilities in our election systems that may exist today as we look to 2026, and yes, we are very focused on trying to make sure that this election is one that the American people have faith.
Director Gabbard, I've got a number of questions. Director Gabbard, I have a number of questions. Let me ask my next question, please. You have not provided any of the required reports or briefings to this committee on foreign interference. This is the first threat assessment since 2017 that didn't even mention foreign interference. Last year, when you were already confirmed, it mentioned it at high level. Are you saying there is no foreign threat to our elections in the midterms this year?
As I stated in the outset of my remarks, this year's annual threat assessment matches the prioritization of threats and
Please answer the question, yes or no. Is there foreign threat interference to our elections this year?
Laid out.
Are there foreign?
Please allow me to answer the question, sir. The intelligence community has been and continues to remain focused on any collection and intelligence products that show a potential foreign threat for those who are seeking to
So far, there has been none then, because you've made no reports.
System.
Excuse me, ma'am. If you want to ask the questions, you should have stayed in Congress. Please answer the questions.
I didn't ask you a question, sir. I'm trying to answer your questions.
So you're saying the failure to provide any reports or the failure to have any mention of a foreign threat assessment, I would draw the conclusion there must be no foreign threat to our elections in 26. So that brings me a question that I have for both you, ma'am, and Director Patel. There are reports that in 2020, the president was preparing an executive order to potentially seize ballots or bring in federal forces. There is a published report that there is a similar EO being drafted right now about 2026, citing China. Director Patel, do you have any knowledge of that draft EO?
Thank you, Vice Chairman. I do not, sir.
Director Gabbard, do you have any?
I do not.
Thank you. Let me move to Iran. Now, I understand, and I appreciated, Director Gabbard, your comments yesterday about agreeing that the president has sole authority, I guess, in his bones to declare whether something is an imminent threat. I didn't agree with your friend, Mr. Kent, but I didn't, again, I agreed with him yesterday on the fact that there was no imminent threat. I guess what I'm concerned about, one thing is, even in your printed testimony today on page 6, and your last paragraph on page 6, as a result of Operation Midnight Hammer, Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated. There's been no efforts to try to rebuild their enrichment capability. You omitted that paragraph from your oral opening. Was that because the president had said there was an imminent threat 2 weeks?
No, sir, I recognize that the time was running long, and I skipped through some of the
So
portions
you chose to take
of my oral delivered remarks.
You chose
sir.
to omit the parts that contradict the president. The president continues to say as well that, you know, he had no idea, was shocked that the Iranians had moved to take over the Strait of Hormuz. Did you provide any intelligence that would say that it would be that it was not likely that the Iranians would try to move on the strait?
I'm not aware of those remarks, and I think those of us here at the table can point to the fact that historically the Iranians have always threatened to leverage their control over
But why would
the
the
Strait
president
of
say he was
Hormuz.
amazed? Or,
I'm not aware of those remarks.
What about the comments the president made that thought that he was surprised again, reports that Iran struck the adjacent Gulf states?
Again, I'm not aware of those remarks. We have
Well,
been
let me
and
ask you this.
continue to
Did
provide
you brief the president? Did you brief the president?
Decisions.
Did you brief the president if he starts a war of choice that the likely result would be that Iran would strike adjacent Gulf nations and close the Strait of Hormuz? Did you brief him on those two facts that I think have been consistently the assumptions of the intelligence community?
I have not and won't divulge internal conversations. I will say that those of us within the intelligence community continue to provide the president with all of the best objective intelligence available to inform his decisions.
Senator Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Gabbard, you just testified that ISIS and al-Qaeda are significantly weaker. And reflecting that view, you have devoted declining budgets, personnel, and emphasis on countering terrorism. Yet, the fact is that ISIS is growing and operating in Somalia, Afghanistan, Syria, Pakistan, and Iraq. Al-Qaeda is surging in Afghanistan, the Arabian Peninsula, and throughout Central Africa. The Houthis in Yemen and the rest of the Iranian proxies remain a serious threat. Focusing, as you have done, on great power competitors seems to have diverted resources from the fight against terrorism, a fight that's very much still going on. As I have said repeatedly, it is terrorists who want and can kill Americans today. We've just seen the terrorists in Michigan attacking the synagogue. In addition, it appears that a more stovepiped effort in the Intelligence Committee has returned. How are you ensuring that Americans are safe and that you are countering counterterrorism threats to our homeland and to U.S. citizens abroad?
Thank you, Senator Collins, for your question and the opportunity to clarify the comments in my opening statement. My reference to the size of ISIS and al-Qaeda organizationally is smaller and weaker than it was during its peak over a decade ago. However, I completely concur with your remarks about the threat of ISIS, al-Qaeda, and other Islamist terrorist groups around the world, and the threat that they pose to U.S. interest service members and directly to the homeland. Our ODNI National Counterterrorism Center has been at the forefront of this distant threat to the American people. The change in tactics based on the current environment is something we continue to be most concerned about. We are seeing less indicators of large-scale organized complex threats or attacks, and instead efforts focused on individuals either who have been radicalized by Islamist propaganda and may not have ever had contact with ISIS or Al-Qaeda, for example, and others who have had contact, of which we are able to have more indications of. This remains and will be, and as we come to present our budgets to you, a foremost and primary priority. The integration across the intelligence community on the counterterrorism threat occurs every single day, with our teams working very effectively together to thwart terrorist attacks as we have over the last year.
Director Patel, I'm going to follow up on this issue with you. ISIS targets potential recruits online through social media, gaming platforms, encrypted messaging apps. ISIS even facilitated a network online to smuggle illegal immigrants into the United States. Since April 2021, there have been more than 52 jihadist-inspired cases across 30 states. What measures is the FBI taking to prevent foreign terrorist organizations from recruiting or influencing Americans, while also ensuring the protection of individuals' right to privacy?
Thank you, Senator, and I think you said it best. They have transferred their capabilities in terms of personal recruitments to online recruitments, which makes any terrorist organization, including ISIS, all the more powerful. What we have done is extended and expanded resources to environments like the Threat Screening Center, which allows us to collect biometric capabilities from all over the world. We've had a double-digit increase in that and a double-digit increase in intelligence production. But what we've also done in the CT space specifically is expand the number of agents and intel analysts that go online and detect, based on our biometric capabilities and intelligence that we have from the interagency. And what that leads us to is what we saw in December of last year, Senator, where we at the FBI stopped 4 terrorist attacks, 4 in California, Texas, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, 3 of which were ISIS-inspired. We were able to detect these individuals both online and in person using our covert platforms, and we shuttered a bombing campaign in Southern California and 2 mass casualty events for New Year's Eve.
Director Gabbard, the intelligence community did not detect an extremely serious breach affecting our telecommunications industry due to the Chinese Salt Typhoon incursions for a very long time. In addition, the Chinese Volt Typhoon threat poses a terrible threat to U.S. critical infrastructure. Specific sectors throughout the United States have been overlooked and underprotected. What are you doing to deal with the threat to critical infrastructure, our electric grid, our communication systems, given this huge miss by our talented intelligence community?
Thank you, Senator Collins, for the question. Working with our partners at NSA and others to detect these threats and how they may be evolved or developing is something we're continuing to work on. Building strong partnerships with the private sector, whether it be in the telecom industry, the financial sector, the healthcare sector, the energy sector, is something that I'm rebuilding. We've seen some of these ongoing relationships falter over previous years. I've personally been astounded by some of the conversations I've had with leaders from these industries who are just as concerned as we are about these threats to our critical infrastructure, and yet don't feel that they have the connectivity or the information to be able to secure their own infrastructure. So in short, building those stronger partnerships, integrating and being able to share information intelligence where we can is critical for us to be able to secure our country from these threats.
Thank you, Senator Collins. Senator Wyden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Director Gabbard, last year your agencies testified, and I quote, Iran's large conventional forces are capable of inflicting substantial damage to an attacker, executing regional strikes, and disrupting shipping, particularly energy supplies, through the Strait of Hormuz. In other words, every problem we're seeing now was not only foreseeable, but was actually predicted by the intelligence agencies. So, Director, in the lead up to the start of this war 3 weeks ago, did the intelligence agencies stick to their assessment that in response to an attack, the Iranians had the capability to shut down the Strait of Hormuz?
Thank you, Senator Wyden. The intelligence community has continued to provide the president and his team with the intelligence related to this operation in Iran before and on an ongoing basis.
So right now,
you can see there Tulsi Gabbard being questioned, grilled there by senators on the intel and the advice that her and her team gave to the president prior to and during this current war with Iran, and her earlier saying that she's not going to get into the details of what she and her team told the president. But you can hear there from at least Senator Warner, there were some things in which recently have come out by the president saying that he was shocked by a few different results of the war here recently, that Warner and he mentions others within the national security intelligence community say would be pretty much solid thoughts going into this particular conflict and war, or assumptions, I should say. We're going to try to come back to that in a bit, but I do want to go now outside of our Senate and Capitol buildings there in D.C. We now have a rally that's going on from Democrats who are speaking out against the SAVE Act. We told you yesterday senators were on the floor as they were looking over this legislation that would change some of the eligibility requirements for people hoping to vote, particularly in federal elections. Republicans are wanting to get this done to, their words, strengthen our election security, particularly for those who are not citizens. And then you have Democrats who say that what they're trying to do would disenfranchise millions of voters across the country. Right now you have the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer who is speaking. Let's see if he is still at the podium. Nope, they have someone else coming in. We'll listen in here for a few moments.
Thank you. And I am delighted to bring up our next speaker, who's also in that number, someone who's worked and fought for working people for years and who has wasted no time since arriving in the Senate, working for the people of the great state of Delaware and the nation, and already distinguished herself as a leader on voting rights. Please join me in welcoming the distinguished senator from Delaware, Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm going to say it's a good morning because we are all out here saying we will not go back and we are defending our democracy. So good morning. Good morning. Now, I have to tell you, coming here, I was thinking to myself, costs are high. Our Republican colleagues have already cut Medicaid, Medicare. People don't know how they're going to be able to afford energy. We're in the middle of a war that they can't even get straight why we're in it and don't have a way to get out of it. And we are now here faced with defending our democracy. So I start off with a question. What is the Save America Act really saving us from? What is it saving us from? Voters. Thank you. Is it saving young people who are on college campuses? No. Is it saving people of color? No. Is it saving somebody who lives in a rural community that would have to travel hours just to vote? No. Is it saving people in tribal communities? No. Is it saving the 69 million women who have changed their names? No. And I know it for sure because I've changed my name. I've been Lisa Blunt Bradley, Lisa Blunt Rochester. I've been married, divorced, widowed. 69 million women are going to be affected by this. That's right. And so I will tell you, I think it's probably the answer that the president gave himself. They want to make sure that the right people vote. So I guess all of us aren't the right people. I guess we're not. I brought with me something that I carried on the day that I was sworn into the House of Representatives when I was elected in 2016. And I carried it with me on the day that I was sworn in as a United States Senator. And I also carried it with me when I was trapped up in the gallery on January 6th, and all I could think to do was pray. This document allowed my great-great-great-grandfather, who had been enslaved in Georgia, to have the right to vote. We took this and turned it into a scarf. It is the Returns of Qualified Voters and Reconstruction Oath from 1867. This is my proof of what we've been through. This is our proof. This is also our inspiration. Also our inspiration.
Again, you're listening to Democrats who are speaking against the SAVE Act that would change the way in which we do qualifications and for showing proof to be able to vote here in our country. Now, here's the thing, though. The president is really leaning in on Republicans in the Senate to change the 60-vote rule so that this can get through. As Democrats have said, they're going to block this because the Republicans at this time cannot reach that 60 threshold without them. So it is still to be seen what will happen. So far, Republicans have said they are not going to lower that 60 vote threshold, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with this particular bill. But for now, we do need to take a break. We'll be right back in a few minutes with more here on Live Impact News. Welcome back to Live Impact News. It's time for us to do another check-in with our Paws for Charity event today as we're raising money for local animals at the Hope for Life Rescue Center in Virginia Beach. We've had Marta Berglund, who's been out there with our animals there with the cats and the dogs, all of whom need your support, whether it's adoption or you can just do at-home visits, where you can take them home at night and then bring them back during the daytime, get some really good opportunity for you. Or again, you can give. We have been raising money all throughout the day, and I want to say our latest total is, just over $8,200, which is great. We have a goal of $30,000, so we're 27% of the way through already. So please, please, please help us support animals in our care through this all-day fundraiser. Really easy. I just point here. There we go. Right here. There you go. That QR code. Took me a little bit, Sarah. That QR code right there. You can easily scan it. It'll take you right to the link for more information and for you to donate as soon as possible. Any amount helps. And just as I've been saying this, it looks like someone just gave. So we definitely appreciate you all. Okay, let's get back to some of these hearings that are taking place. When we were on the other side of that break, we were watching the live hearing with senators of our national and international intelligence officials, including FBI Director Gabbard Patel and DNI Director Tulsi Gabbard. But right now we're going to go back to the confirmation hearing from Senator Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma, who has been tapped by the president to replace outgoing DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. She is moving on from her post after a very controversial last several months. Particularly what we saw happen in Minneapolis, Minnesota, with 2 people shot and killed there by ICE agents, one of those being Renee Good, who has ties right here to Hampton Roads, being a graduate of Old Dominion University, and then the other being Alex Preddy. Again, both of their deaths really sparking national criticisms on the department and how they were handling that very large immigration enforcement crackdown. The latter of the 2 deaths ultimately leading for a lot of those agents to come out of the city, though there are still several hundred at last check that are still in the Twin Cities area there in Minnesota. But the other thing that came out in her last hearing with lawmakers on a back-to-back with the House and Senate is her spending that was criticized, particularly one in which for a particular advertisement that was going out to, across the country, millions of dollars that ultimately were used and paid to what was reported to a company with ties to people directly associated with Kristi Noem. So there were some things on the back end there that definitely were critical. And now we know that there's going to be a new leader in that role. The president wants it to be Markwayne Mullin. Again, his confirmation hearing is happening right now, and we're going to listen to that live.
Every single county sign up to work with the federal government, because we were dealing with an unprecedented situation following the last administration where you had people working with radicals in that administration to destroy the border, roll out a welcome mat to everyone, and has left our nation reeling from an unprecedented surge of people we don't know who are here, many of which, before they even got here, had committed crimes and have committed crimes since. The way to recover and shore up our communities is to work with, in partnership, local law enforcement who have an expertise in their communities. And it is disheartening to me, not just as a former attorney general or as a former prosecutor, but as the wife of a law enforcement officer and someone that worked very closely with them, it wrecks me to hear them refer to law enforcement in general, especially some of the men and women that serve currently in the Department of Homeland Security, as breaking into people's homes and shooting Americans. And I think we can all acknowledge that we want law enforcement to meet professional standards, to act with the public safety in mind, to comply with the law. But we do not have to disparage an entire profession of men and women who put their lives on the line for you and for everyone in this room, and said that they were going to dedicate their professional careers to stand on that line and put their safety behind yours. When President Trump got in office, so many of these states on the Democratic side said, I will never work with that man to come in and correct and rid the communities of people that are going to do it harm. We won't. In Minnesota, the first thing they said, I will never help that person. I won't lift a finger, the Attorney General said. So in Florida, where you have 67 out of 67 counties signing up, tell me what I can do to help you. In Minnesota, they had like 7 of 87. Does that surprise anyone? No, because their state leader said, we will not help you. We will not go after the most dangerous in our communities. Have at it. See how it goes. We won't lift a finger. And when the administration says we are dealing with an unprecedented situation, 11 to 20 million people, that's never happened in the history of our country, how do we do this? We need to make sure we're focusing on triaging and getting people out that we know may do harm to our communities. They're like, what are you talking about? You can't have quotas. They won't talk about the quotas where they said we're put to Border Patrol, push more and more and more and more in. However you need to do it. Don't tell us how we can stop this influx or this surge. Tell us how we can push more in. They won't talk about that. And they want to tell you about focusing on children that are here, that are now here. Yes, you need to do that. As somebody that has pushed to protecting children and fought against trafficking with law enforcement's help, yes, you need to do that. But I loved how you said, let's talk about the tens of thousands of children that the federal government helped traffic under the Biden administration that we lost. And when they were made aware of it, they ignored it. You will now have to take over an agency that is charged with cleaning up a disaster, a danger. The Biden administration did that. I cannot think of a better person, someone who acts passionately and fiercely fights for the people he loves, and someone who loves this country and thinks of other people before himself. I am telling you, in Congress, there are all kinds of personality types. But this man came up to me time and time again as the newest United States Senator and said, what can I do to help you? How can we make this place work? How can we get this done? And I look over the course of your life, you left school when your father got sick to go help your family business. That's the kind of person you are. The kind of person that stands up for every person in this office. That's the kind of person, passionate, fierce, a fighter, loyal. That's who I want now, protecting this country at the head of the Department of Homeland Security. You said in your testimony, I'll fight for your family just as I fight for mine. Tell me about that personality trait and how you think that will help the Department of Homeland Security in this unprecedented time where the last administration, the last president of the United States abandoned his role to secure this country. Tell me how you bring the personality and your character traits to this role.
It's the way I was raised. It's the way my dad raised us, the way my mom raised us, the way they were raised. We love this country. Think about it. I'm getting to live the American dream. You're telling me a kid from Westville, Oklahoma with a speech impediment would ever be able to be here? That only happens in America. Only in America. And we all probably have the same type of dreams because none of us have royal blood. Maybe some of your parents might have served in public office or not. Mine most certainly did not. And the fact that I'm here, my goodness. That's why people want to come to our country, because they want the American dream. And I want everybody to have the same opportunity that I have, but we have to secure the homeland. We have to make sure that they feel safe stepping out and being in the public eye. We got to make sure that people can have a peace of mind and trust our government. And right now there's a mistrust in our government. I think we have an opportunity to maybe work on that. I meant it when I say that I hope in 6 months we're not. I can't guarantee it because the news choose what they're going to run, but I hope that I'm not on the news every 6 months or 6 months from now every day. I hope DHS is just able to be laser focused on doing their job and isn't controversial about taking care of the homeland. I hope people have confidence in our agency again. and I'm going to work every day to restore that.
And you'll bring that same passion and zeal and protective instinct to protect every family and every community, working with local law enforcement because they know how to approach in a safe manner their communities.
Nobody will take care of their backyard better than the individual.
Senator Gallego.
Thank you, Chairman. Hello, neighbor. How you doing? Easy day.
Hey, brother. Good to see you.
So, some very specific questions. What is the primary mission of Homeland Security investigations?
From the IG or from us?
I'm sorry, from Homeland Security Department. There's HSI is within Homeland
Right.
Security. What is their primary mission?
Well,
it's not a trick question either.
No, I understand that. And every agency, sir, we have specific missions that we are targeted to look at our aspect of protecting the homeland. In different directions, have different paths. And in different agencies, region-wide, there are 22 of them there. We all need to be in the same boat, row in the same direction, working for one common goal. And as I said, that's protect the homeland, bring peace of mind, and secure the confidence of the American people.
Okay, so HSI, and being from Arizona, we're very familiar with CBP, ICE, and HSI. HSI specifically is very important because they specialize in dealing with human trafficking, human smuggling, counterfeit, bank fraud, things of that nature. Actually, I have a lot of friends that have worked for them forever. The reason I bring this up is because there is confirmed reports that the Secretary of Homeland Security has ordered HSI agents, pull them off what I just told you were very important missions, to go to Arizona and investigate the 2020 election results, right? That's a very big concern of mine because these agents should be doing the work they're doing. A lot of them already are, field ICE agents instead of actually doing these long-term investigations. But now they're not even doing the ICE enforcement. They're literally going back and looking into conspiracy theories. So, for my experience and seeing you both on the House and the Senate, do you believe that Joe Biden won Arizona in the 2020 presidential election? The reason I ask is because, again, you're potentially deploying HSI agents to Arizona to check a result using our taxpayer dollars to follow up on a conspiracy theory.
Sir, I'm not familiar with what the former secretary did here, and nor am I here to debate what happened in 2020. I do know that there's an opportunity to look at 2020 and make sure that anything that went wrong we can fix moving forward, because what we wanted to make sure is that in the next election, be it the midterms or in 2028, the American people trust our election system. Trust is vitally important. I want to always look at past mistakes and past successes, because I've addressed this multiple times, and I know everybody's busy here, and I know you didn't get to hear me earlier. But Senator, I think we can always do better, and I want to do that. Just like you and I, we've worked on immigration issues before, but because we both know we can do it better.
But you're talking about perspective. I'm talking about going back, and the fact that we're using Homeland Security funds, investigators that should be using their time and value more to check onto something that, by the way, had multiple independent audits, even one run by the Senate Republican and Senate State House representatives that passed, accuracy tests, hand counts, 14 court cases that were confirmed that Biden won in my state. And so when I have personal friends that are HSI agents, friends that I know are telling me they are now being diverted from their duties, and what they're doing is they're instead of investigating child sex trafficking, child abusers, drug traffickers, which I don't disagree, we have not been doing the best at, and certainly I think a lot of that was under the Biden administration, did not do that sufficiently. But now instead of it not being done, now we have the opposite, where some of these best trained people are being ordered by somebody within the chain of command of the White House, which I get to quest later, to go investigate this false this false conspiracy theory, right? And like, as much as, for me, a concern of mine, because, I do know you very personally, and we got into work together. I think you're an upstanding guy, and I reject this idea that you're not qualified for this job 100%. But when it comes to something as existential as this, that's when I have to start questioning, like, are you going to be in charge of a department that's going to say, you know what, HSI should not be used for this? As a matter of fact, no one in the Department of Homeland Security should be used to do and investigate an election conspiracy. So that's, what I want to communicate on this. Like, I really urge you just to end the investigation. There's no reason why we need to go relegating back to 2020. There certainly isn't any reason why we should be using these highly trained professionals that should be going after some horrible people to be investigating conspiracy theories that have been litigated multiple times and put them back where they were. Moving on from there, my other concern is something that I saw, with the previous secretary, and something that I've seen in myself in my time in the Marines, is that a chain of command is very important. I don't believe there was a real chain of command that was in the Secretary of Homeland Security. And when I say that, it's because I think Stephen Miller was the person that was actually calling the shots there, and you could see the results of what occurred. You had men and women in ICE and CBP that felt that they were unaccountable, talking to actual ICE and CBP agents from Arizona that got deployed to.
We're going to come off of that for a bit as we just saw Vice President J.D. Vance walk up to a podium here. He is speaking to a crowd in, let me make sure I have this correct, in Auburn Hills, Michigan. He's supposed to be delivering remarks when it comes to manufacturing jobs, but let's see what he has to say here.
Exactly what Lee Zeldin has done for us. He's been good for Michigan workers. He's been good for Michigan families. He's been good for building and making things in America because he recognizes that unless we cut out all these crazy regulations, just as President Trump recognizes, we're never going to rebuild the American dream. So, Lee, thank you for all you do. And for the Republicans in the room, which I hope is most of you, or at least the independent-minded Democrats and independents, Lee is the reason why we have a Republican Speaker of the House right now. Nobody knows that or appreciates that because a couple of years ago, Lee Zeldin was the New York gubernatorial candidate at a time where, of course, it's very hard for a Republican to win the New York governor's race, but he so overperformed and did such a good job in that race that he drug a number of New York congressmen across the finish line. They're in Congress today enacting good policy because Lee Zeldin ran a hell of a race. So thank you, Lee, for everything that you do. Now, just on a personal note, I am very, very grateful, and I appreciate the warm welcome you guys gave to our wonderful second lady, my lovely wife, Usha Vance. Thank you, honey, for being here. Usha is now 22 weeks pregnant with baby number 4, so we're very excited about that. And I remember when we decided to run for vice president, I said, honey, I really want to have a 4th kid. And she said, well, you can become vice president or you can have a 4th baby. But ladies and gentlemen, I am persuasive because I got both. Let me just say on one other personal note. So we left Washington this morning, which has the craziest weather anywhere maybe I've ever lived in my entire life. Washington, D.C., it's, if you hate the weather, just wait 10 minutes because it's going to change. So we get on the plane, and I look at my staff, and I say, it is cold in Washington. I hope that we're going someplace warm. And they said, well, we're going to Auburn Hills, Michigan. And I said, oh. I bet it's not warmer in Auburn Hills, Michigan, but you know what? Cold weather makes hardy people. It makes great American workers, and this is the hardest working state anywhere in the union with the best workers. And you all know, as an Ohio State alum, how hard that is for me to say. But I'm gonna give you just a little bit of grief here because, of course, this incredible business that we're in with 100 high-quality American manufacturers doing great things is called Engineering Design Services Incorporated. And I met some of the leadership just backstage, and of course, so many of you are the very people who work with your hands, you work with your minds, and you keep this great American renaissance in manufacturing going. The fact that we added over 2,000 manufacturing jobs in this state since Donald Trump became president is a testament to what you all make possible. Because across the street, we got Fanuc, one of the largest robotics companies anywhere in the world, and everything that you guys do every single day makes it possible for FANUC to do what they do. And I love that connection. I love that synergy between American workers here, American workers across the street, building great robotics so American workers in Wisconsin could make things that they weren't making 2 years ago. And the reason that has happened is because Donald J. Trump decided that we were sick of shipping American jobs overseas. We were sick of shipping American industry overseas. We are going to build right here in Michigan, right here at home, right here in the United States of America, and that's what we've done. Now that said, as proud as we are of the great robotics that are happening right here and across the street, do you know that, and you all should be very proud of this, you know, Michigan is the #2 state in educational robotics adoption. I didn't know that until I was talking with somebody backstage. The #2 state out of 50. And this is where the grief comes in. Guess what's #1? Sir, I won't even repeat it because I'm going to get absolutely ran out of town if I say that. But we all know that as much as Michigan and Ohio, we have such a great rivalry. We have that rivalry because these are two of the states that are the proudest when it comes to building things and making things and creating the American dream. And that's why I love this state. But I want to talk a little bit just about what the President of the United States and the entire team has done with the auto industry in the great state of Michigan. I know we're not in an auto plant, but this is an economy that depends on American automobile manufacturers, and it's one of the things that I'm proudest of that we did. Because we inherited a country where Joe Biden and the Democrats were trying to wage war against our American automakers. They were creating thousands and thousands of pages of new regulations. They were going to war against American energy. They were trying to force every single person in the country.
All right, you're listening there to Vice President J.D. Vance speaking to a group there in Michigan at a manufacturing plant. We got to get out of that because we are running out of time here in the final end of our stream. Again, if you're just now joining us, we have about 5 more minutes or so. We've been monitoring a series of hearings taking place impacting our national and international security. On one end, we've seen a Senate hearing of our top national intelligence officials, including FBI Director Kash Patel and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, being questioned by senators there. And then also, we're seeing a confirmation hearing taking place this morning for Senator Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma, who is being tapped to replace DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. And so those two things have been happening right now. As you can see there, I do believe that is Josh Hawley right now, who is asking questions, we assume, of the fellow senator now looking to become the next DHS secretary. Before we head out today, because we do only have a few moments, we want to do one more time where we can talk about our Paws for Charity event today. We've been raising money for local animals in need, specifically partnering with Hope for Life Rescue in Virginia Beach, where we have raised so far just under $8,300 of our $30,000 goal. This is to help animals who need health care, who need, some form of veterinary help there within the Paws, within the Hope for Life rescue venue there. But also, this is an opportunity for you to maybe adopt. And maybe if you're not in a place where you can adopt, you can also take a dog or a cat home for a night or so, and you can bring them back to the facility. There's a lot of different options that are available for you to be able to support these animals. And so our lovely teammate, Marta Berglund, has been having the time of her life. She loves animals and has also adopted and brought in a few animals of her own. She's been in there. If we can right now, Sarah, I know they're not planning on it, but can we take the actual camera so you guys can see what I'm seeing right now? Because we have a gorgeous dog there at the facility for Hope for Life. So I don't know if we're able to here real quick so you can see it. This is what it's all about, right? Animals like this here. This is what you can help support throughout today. So for the rest of the day, we're on this fundraiser raising $30,000. Just scan the QR code there on your screen for Paws for Charity, helping out these lovely dogs and cats at Hope for Life Rescue and the volunteers and the staff there. We talked to one man earlier this morning during daybreak who is one of the runners. He goes and he picks up these animals from all over the place, not just in Hampton Roads either. We're talking deep into North Carolina to bring them to a place where they can be safe and get the care that they need. And man, that's a beautiful dog. Beautiful dog. So hopefully you can give anything, any amount can help. And even beyond that, if you see an animal, you're like, my goodness, my heart is pumping. I got to do something. Consider adoption, giving them a home for life. And that's it that we have. That's all that we have here this morning for Live Impact News. We thank you so much. If you've been watching us live on YouTube, we appreciate your viewership. But please go ahead and download our streaming app, 13 News Now Plus. You can get that on Roku, Amazon Fire, and on Apple TV. And you can watch not only these streams, but we have so much exclusive content that you can find on that platform. Up next, we have 13 News Now at noon with Ashley Smith. And then Connor Reel and producer Nia Campbell will be back in this seat for another edition of Live Impact News from 1 until 3 p.m. As for Sarah and I, we'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Stay safe. Be good. Hope you can give for Paws for Charity. Thank you so much.